coming on and joining us. So I have a little bit of your background here. So 20 years old, entrepreneur. You're in New Zealand currently,
Yeah.
and how long have you had your company?
I had it for about 3 years. We got acquired last year, towards the end of last year.
Congratulations. So tell us
Thank
a
you.
little bit about you and about your company and what you do.
Yeah, sure. My name is Omer. I'm originally from Turkey, so that's an interesting journey. I lived in kind of all over the show for a bit because of my mom and dad's work. So I actually lived in the US in Jacksonville, Florida for about 4 years actually. And then, moved to Germany here and there, and then eventually settled down in Turkey. I lived there for about throughout middle school, primary school, and I came to New Zealand to study for high school when I was 13. And my family stayed back in Turkey. I stayed here, and I was all by myself, living at a homestay family, and I loved it. My parents were really concerned; they were scared for me, but I loved it. It was great. Went kind of through high school here in New Zealand. While in high school, I got passionate about entrepreneurship, but I didn't even know it was entrepreneurship. So how it all started was I was playing a game at the time, and my mom was on my case saying, like, look, you have to do something productive. You can't just be playing games all the time. So I was like, all right, cool. How can I please my mom while also keep enjoying playing games? Right. So I started an online store that sold in-game items for real money. It was an e-commerce store, and started that, and it was great actually. We grew so hard, and we got influencers through YouTube and Twitch to promote us, and it grew like crazy. And while when I did that, I was about 15 years old, and it was such a interesting journey throughout because I kind of did everything without knowing what I was doing. So, the whole digital marketing space of Facebook and Instagram ads, and getting in touch with influencers, managing them, creating your store, shipping, customer support, all this. But I didn't even know I was doing all that. I was like, all right, I guess I have to do this now. I have to do this. And so after that, I really loved the space. I loved it. So I kept going, and we started an influencer company. And it was at the end of high school, we started the influencer company when it was through an accelerator program for New Zealand youth based from ages 16 to 23. And I got selected to participate in that throughout summer at the end of high school. And just so you know as well, here summer is different here in New Zealand. So we're currently in winter. So summer for us is around December, January, February. So over that period, we started Influencer HQ. And it was crazy because we didn't know what we were doing again. And it was about 5 of us in the team, all just fresh to finish high school. Some of us studying in uni, but really young. It was our first time, well, some of us second time running our business. And how it all started is we had all these mentors and everything around us, but we got, okay, let's do influencer marketing. None of us obviously know any celebrities. So what are we going to do? And we're like, okay, let's actually work with boutique influencers. Let's work with influencers who are on a smaller scale. And we sat down and we're like, okay, how many people do we know who have more than 2,000 followers on their Instagram? And we all looked through our own Instagrams and found some friends, and we're like, all right, hey, do you want to do this with us? And we got about 100 influencers like that, well, friends, who then became our first kind of influencer base. And we walked down on the main street in Wellington, and we just walked into every cafe, every restaurant that we found, and we're like, hey, is your manager here? And 80% of them would say no. The remaining 15% would tell us to piss off, and then we had the 5% who eventually were like, hey, cool, let's have a meeting. And we got 2 cafes, restaurants like that. We pitched them the idea. We're like, look, let's do influencer marketing. It will work. And that's kind of how we started, and grew it over the 3 years into a team of about 20 people, university interns, about 2,000 influencers that we worked with around New Zealand. And it was amazing. It was a great journey. And I really do believe in the power of kind of influencer marketing. And ever since that company as well, I'm doing everything in my power to utilize that for any kind of business or like any company I help or I'm involved with, because I really do believe it's a really, really strong point of marketing and getting your word out there.
I agree too. It's one of those deals that a lot of business owners we come across have a lot of questions about, because they just don't know about it. They're reading a lot about the fraud that happens in it because everybody says that they're an influencer, or they have an account that has a lot of fake followers, so they're not really getting any kind of conversion. And the
Yeah.
other thing is tracking is how are they monitoring that to really make sure, is that influencer really bringing them something?
Mm-hmm.
And those are a lot of the questions that I know a lot of the business owners have from our community. But so tell us about the boutique influencer. So talk to us about why we should definitely care about this.
Yeah. Okay. So let me start with, what is the kind of influencer marketing, right? So influencer marketing, in my opinion, really is all about utilizing social proofing, right? So it's no longer, and it was a really good quote. I can't remember the person, and this is kind of what we built the whole business around. It's a very famous quote, and it says that it's no longer what brands tell people what brands are. It's what people are telling people what brands are, right? And I think that's exactly what we utilize and what the influencer marketing utilizes. It's about getting your brand out there organically, right? Because being in the 21st century, in 2018 right now, the digital space is crowded. It's you have social media marketing, but the barrier of entry is so low that anyone can do it. You can have a $50 budget and start social media advertising. Obviously, you can do it better, do it worse, but the barrier of entry is so easy. So as consumers are just bombarded with information online, right? They're scrolling down on Facebook, on Instagram, or whatever platform, and they're just constantly seeing, test this product, buy this product, look at this product. So how can we change that? And influencer marketing is all about getting someone, well, I guess let's split into two, right? So I think there's influencer marketing and social proofing. Okay. And boutique influencers, I think, fall under the social proofing category. So influencer marketing, in my opinion, is about someone in the industry who has influence of people, right? So you could pay, let's see, actually a good example, Kylie Jenner, to promote your fitness product, right? And this is actually a company that in New Zealand did. An acquaintance of mine, she ran a waist trainer business, and she paid Kylie Jenner to promote the product. Big money involved, and then you have big marketing going around. You have millions of people seeing it, right? So it's a big influencer push to influence people's buying decisions. Whereas boutique influence is all about social proofing, right? It's your friend telling you about a brand. And I really do believe it's much more stronger when someone you can connect tells you about a product rather than perhaps a celebrity or someone on a much higher status on their social status. And that's all we utilize. And this is why it's really, really strong. Through our own research and through kind of our analytics that we performed while running campaigns for clients and looking at, some competitors both in New Zealand and overseas that work with the bigger influencers, we found that for the same budget, for the same amount of money that you'd pay for a big influencer or multiple smaller boutique influencers, you go 4 times the value out of the boutique influencers, the 4 times the conversions, right? So for especially e-commerce businesses or cafes, restaurants, and what we like to call sexy businesses, right? Businesses that you can advertise in the influencer space, 4 times the conversion. And through that, I think it just really shows the power of what the boutique influencer, what the smaller scale influencer can do. And we categorize them in New Zealand just because the population is much smaller here. The whole country is 4 million people. So yeah. So here we categorize a boutique influencer as anyone from 2,500 followers to about 35,000 followers was our kind of area that we worked with. Whereas traditionally, if you look at a big company, it could be Apple or any company in the FMCG sector, if they're working with influencers, the threshold there is at least 150,000 followers plus to millions. So it's a big difference between the type of influencers we work with, and I think the value is that.
Okay. So for the boutique influencers and knowing the amount of followers and things, like how do you match them with a brand? Is it based off of that influencer's lifestyle and what they're doing? Because what I've seen sometimes online is that you have, right, it's that word of mouth that you're getting with that boutique influencer, that person to person, what you're saying is so valuable. It's like, hey, my best friend's telling me to go buy this product. So how do you make it not seem like a sales ad? How do you make it seem like that? And then like,
Yeah.
how do you match those people with that company to make it seem so simple and seamless?
Yeah, yeah, and it's a good question because it's something we struggled with eventually at the start when we started, and this is why our model and this boutique influencer model, I believe, is so much more different than the general influencer model, because here the type of posts that I create are also different, right? Because people don't want to seem like they're selling to their friends. No one wants to be in that situation. So the best situation is where everyone wins, right? So the brand wins because they're getting, the product out, the name out. The influencer wins because they get to, it could be for many reasons. Some of them wanted to grow their social kind of following. So some people would do it for that reason. Some people would just like to have some free lunch every now and then and just post a picture of it, right? So it all depends on the type of person. And then the end person also wins because before I connected, actually, I was listening in the background of what you talked and how tracking is actually a big issue with influencer marketing, because in social media or Google or anything in the traditional digital media space, you can track things. It's so easy. You can see what ad copy actually converted into a lead or a conversion. So it's much easier. Whereas with influencer marketing, that can be a bit harder. So what we did, we would use discount codes, right, or special links that followed people when they clicked on a post, etc. But I guess what I'm trying to get at is through that discount link, then the end user also wins, right? Because a brand will offer special discounts to the influencers to promote, and then friends of that influencer would then be able to use them that no one else has access to. So it's kind of like we were trying to give that value to everyone. So an example of this would be, let's say the local cafe here that is by location very close to the university would come to us. They'll get in touch with us, say, look, we do digital advertising. We have some prints, but we also want to get our word out. We want more students coming in, right? In a month, new students are going to be coming to the city. It's going to be really packed. We want to get some of that traffic. And we say, okay, let's do that. So we'd go to the university, or through our list of people, we'd look at who's currently studying at that university and who has a big kind of social proofing in the university, who are influencers in that space. We'd contact them, we'll ask them about the cafe as well, because we never, some, depends on the influencer business, but some just have a list of influencers and they will just connect them with the business, right? They'll go, here's your job, go do it. What we did, we also always talk to the influencers saying like, hey, this brand wants to work with you. What do you think, right? We always had that approach where we wanted to match kind of in a way the business and the person kind of promoting it, because as you said, if the person doesn't believe in it, they're not going to do a good job of it, because they will feel like they're selling. It's all about them liking the brand itself. So then we'd connect them. They'd go to the cafe. They'd say, yeah, cool, I want to do that. They go to the cafe, have some free lunch, take a picture of it, put a discount code up saying, hey, for the next 2 weeks, anyone who comes in showing their X university student ID will get 20% off, right? And then that's kind of how everything would work. Everyone who used the discount code then would be able to track to see how many sales we drove to the cafe. And then we'd be able to give a kind of dollar value and the total ROI to the business to see if it was worth it.
Wow. Okay. So how many boutique influencers did you say you have with you now?
Well, now we don't. We have 0 because we got acquired, right? Yeah, but at our peak, we had about 2,200-ish.
And the brands, they really took up with it. Like, were they reluctant at first with the concept of bringing, because you look at brands that have brought on a face to their company. So they brought on, let's say Subway brings on somebody, well, that person gets in trouble, that person does something, and then all of their business is attached to that person. So how do you combat against that kind of element happening? Because it has happened. There was an influencer that got dropped by all of his sponsors because he posted something he shouldn't have in the wrong.
To be honest, to be blunt, I think New Zealand is much more relaxed in that sense than perhaps the United States, right? So looking at things, a lot of the advertising in general here as well, not just the digital, but even if you just Google, New Zealand TV ads, you will just see how different they are than perhaps some in the States and Europe. As this big relaxed culture and just being straight to the point is really valued. So in terms of like, we never had troubles with that, and obviously there's a limit, right? Like between being straight to the point and just doing something absolutely, crazy over the top. But we never had that issue. We never had any business complain to us. And it's also important to also keep in mind that we never put a face to the business. They would be working with, let's say, 6 or 7 influencers, but none of them would say that they're affiliated with the business. They never said, like, they would say that it was a sponsored post because of the whole requirements of, influencer marketing. But none of them ever said, look, we are the face of this business. We are doing everything we can to push that. So that's because of that, there was never that issue. And businesses always knew what they were getting into as well, because they would be able to see the profile of the influencer, what type of things they posted beforehand. And, so they could expect who to be associated with. So we never had that issue. And I don't see it as being too big of an issue in New Zealand, but so we didn't really have to combat that. But definitely, I think it is an area that you have to keep a very keen eye on, and I think that's why you have to quality control your influences, right? So for anyone in the US, that's the thing of doing it, or Europe in that sense as well. Really, just vet your influences, quality check them, and this can even if you're just a business doing it yourself, right? Like, you don't have to go through an influencer agency to do this. If you're a business that wants to utilize influencer marketing, you can easily do it. You just have to get in touch with these influencers. Go on Instagram, go on Facebook, go on LinkedIn, go on YouTube, and just, search the niche you're in. Find an influencer, excuse me, find an influencer in that space and connect them, right? Just message them, say, look, blah, 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 we'd love to work with you. Can we have a talk? And, you know what, like 80% of them will take you up on that. This is for the boutique influencer side, right? So because they're not these big celebrities that got a thing getting thousands of DMs every day, they're not gonna really kind of put you to the side. Well, 80% of them. So even if you're a solo business doing it, you have a really good chance of just quality checking yourself and going along with it.
So does influencer marketing, I've noticed it more so on Instagram, but it could be for any social channel, right? Have you noticed it being on one social channel more than the other, like what we have?
Yeah, definitely. I think Instagram is running with the game. So Instagram influencers are the big category. Recently, before we did get acquired, we also started looking into LinkedIn influencers. That's a big position to be in, especially for more established businesses. So that's a very good category for businesses that traditionally would think they can't do influencer marketing. So when you think of influencer marketing, you think, cafes, e-commerce stores selling clothing or cars or this and that. But if you think of a law firm as an example, you don't really think that they could do influencer marketing. And that is where the LinkedIn influencers come in, where you could connect with key, let's say the law firm usually has clients in the exporting, importing space. You'd go on LinkedIn and you'd find kind of the key importers into your country, right? And you'd connect with them. Perhaps you already have a client who's a big importer. You'd talk with them and you'd ask them to kind of give recommendations and talk about your brand in exchange for perhaps a discount for the services or anything. Right? So you can get really creative with this. And that's where the LinkedIn influencer mindset can also work. So influencer marketing isn't just for those sexy businesses. If you're more established, bigger, boring business in a way, right? Like you can really utilize it and grow your name out there as well, get more customers.
I think that's important to say, because a lot of people think that their business is boring because they're traditional and like a CPA or a bookkeeper. And I never would have thought had suggest them to try LinkedIn in that way. That's kind of so. If somebody is seeking out an influencer and they do the reach out to them and they're talking terms, so this was another question a lot of people have is, how much do you pay an influencer? Do you pay them based off of the action they're taking, or based off of the number of followers that they have? Like how does that monetary exchange really, like, value, or that price point really come down to?
The key thing to remember, and this is the stance we took, and many successful influencer agencies or like business that utilize influencers do, is don't look at followers. Just scrape that off your head, because as you said earlier, followers is such an inflatable number. Like I could just go on Google right now and purchase 100,000 followers for my own account. Like that doesn't make me an influencer. I could purchase those followers. The real influence comes from engagement rates, right? So definitely when you're doing your research, when you're quality checking and seeing what type of influencers you want to work with, look at their engagement rate. Look at how many followers they have, and then look at how many likes and how many comments they're getting on their posts. That's a really good indication of, I suppose, how many, even if they don't have the fake followers, it just means that their followers are not engaged with them if they don't have many likes and comments. So if someone with 2,000 followers, but a couple of hundred likes and a couple of hundred comments per post, is way more valuable than someone with, let's say, 30,000 followers, but again, maybe 50 likes and 5-6 comments. So it's definitely, and so that's why you really have to scrape the whole impressions idea out of your mind when think of it as Google ad, right, or just a social media campaign. Think of it as a cost per click rather than a cost per impression. So really look at what the engagement is like. Don't look at how many people can see it, because people see a lot of things. So it's really important for them to be able to connect with it and engage with it and actually work with it. So look at that engagement.
So let's just say someone has 2,500 followers and you want them to be an influencer for you. They're getting good engagement, couple hundred per post, like what you described. What could the average business expect to potentially offer them or pay them? Is it something where we want them to do a series of postings? Is it one posting, one payment? It's like, how does that work?
Yeah. Again, this is why you can get really creative with this if you're doing it yourself, right? Like if you go through an agency, they will have kind of their own rules and how they operate. But if you want to do it yourself, you can get really creative with this. You could get multiple influencers, especially if you're working with boutique influencers. That's something I suggest because the reach is just not that large. So you want, the ideal number that we found is about 3 to 4 influencers making a post each per week for a month, right? So then you have 4 posts. And you have, let's say you have 4 influencers working for a month with you. All of them make a post per week. Now you have 16 posts in total for over the month. What this does is, because these like per influencer, they're making 1 post per week, right? But you also got to remember that they probably have made 4 or 5 other posts during that week, non-relevant to your business. So they'll post about their walk or this and that. But then the 5th one will be about your business. And then next week, the same thing. So what this does, it goes back to making it more friendly. It's not a sales pitch anymore. Often, like, our clients and some of the influencers' posts were amazing. Like, I would look at it and I'll go, wow, that doesn't look like an ad. She would just take, let's say, a picture of the coffee mug while she was at the cafe and say, oh, I just came out of the gym and I needed this coffee. Hashtag Mondays and tagging the cafe to the post, and stuff like this is really, really cool. And in terms of how much you're paying, honestly, I would suggest to just offer them free product. See if they'd be interested in doing it just for free product. And it depends on what your product is, right? If it's on the higher end, obviously you can. If it's just 1 coffee, maybe you have to add in something else into there. So offer free product. And in terms of pricing, if you're paying, you can expect about, not that much actually, $100 to $150 per post. I'm trying to go off that 4 influencers, 4 post model. I'm trying the math's confusing me. But yeah, honestly, I think. And I studied engineering. Jesus, $35 to $50 per post, I would say, is a good threshold for that 2,500 follower influencer.
Okay, what do you think? So, do you think that what we talk about business owners a lot is like, hey, set a marketing budget. Like, just set a budget of how much you want to spend on your marketing. We're now telling them to include in budgeting for influencer marketing. What do you think the average small business owner should start to kind of set back towards that? Is it a couple hundred a month? Is it, go ahead and allocate $500 a month to this? Like, what would be average business owner type monthly expense?
Depends on their revenues, how much they're generating, everything. But I would say a good point to be in, at least entry, right? If you've never done influencer marketing, if you just want to try it out, I'd say set apart 15% of your total marketing budget to influencer marketing. Put a 15%, see how that goes, and go from there. And again, if that 15% is just like $50 or something, you don't do that. But I think $350 to $500 per month is a good place to start with to work with boutique influencers and utilize boutique. That's why I think it's very strong, because you don't need too much money to get into influencer marketing if you're utilizing boutique influencers. If you're, if you want to utilize big influencer marketing, you will need to set about hundreds of thousands of dollars. But the small business that can't afford that, get in with boutique influencer marketing and try that route, and you will see the revenue growth from that. Because through kind of like, we worked for about 3 years, and at the end, when we were getting acquired and through that whole due diligence process, we had to get some key numbers up, right? So the one data that we didn't really look at throughout the 3 years, which I guess was bad business on our behalf, but at the end of it, we looked back and we were figuring everything out. The one number that really stood out was, for every dollar, the ROI, the ROI that we were providing businesses was, for every dollar they were spending, they were getting $6 back in those sales that they were generating. And this is with the discounts they were offering, right? So, because that's how we're tracking. So with the discounts they were offering, they were getting £6 back. And that's pretty good. Right now, involved in a digital marketing agency, and with traditional kind of social media, that's not often the case, or even AdWords, SEO, or like anything you're doing, that's not really okay. So it was really high ROIs. So definitely give it a go with a small budget, see how it works out for your business.
I think I read somewhere that Kylie Jenner was charging $1 million per Instagram post, and she's getting it. Like,
yes, it is crazy.
Insane.
Yeah.
And I think that's what seeing those things, people don't think that there's another option as a boutique influencer. So I'm so glad that you brought this up to give those options to people. So Scott, did you have any questions?
Yeah, I actually had a couple questions here for you, Omar, and I loving what you're sharing there. So would you recommend that if they're adding, like, say, 4 influencers, that maybe they split it up instead of just giving one person a discount code, another person maybe an affiliate code, and maybe trying to help cross promote that and see which ones their client base is like a little bit better? Because if for $500 or $600, that's really not a bad budget, especially if you can get somewhere, let's just say 3-to-1 versus the 6-to-1 like you're talking about, huh?
Exactly. And you want to do that as well, because then you can track which influencer out of the 4 is driving the most sales as well. So then you can track actually which influencer is performing the best for you. Kind of think of it as a split test, right? So you're just split testing your influencers. And I definitely suggest doing that. It's very strong. Yeah.
Have you seen your clients, the companies you're working with, reaching out? Are some of their best influencers their existing clients reaching out to their customers, the testimonials? They're kind of warm market. They're cheerleaders, as we like to call them. Your favorite clients are often your best cheerleaders to share about that.
Yeah. Actually, one of the clients that we worked with, it was really funny. We matched him with an influencer from our database that we thought would work really well. And then when we went to the influencer, we're like, hey, do you want to work with this brand? And they're like, oh my God, like, this is actually like a restaurant that I go to, every week. And I'm like, oh, cool. Go there. And then they went there and they're like, oh, hey, by the way, this week I'm doing influencer marketing for you. And the owner was like, what? Really? Crazy. And they just connected. And she was just all over the top. She was talking about, like, she was supposed to make 4 posts, a month, the generic kind of 4 post threshold, but she made like 10 posts because she was just so excited about it. Like, she was like, she posted pictures with the owner, like, next to them with a restaurant dog kind of running around. It was amazing. So definitely reach out to those people as well, because you never know. A really good thing that you could do is, if you have that data as a business owner, look at who your customers are. And if they have that kind of social reach, if they do, talk to them, say, hey, like, do you want to work together? Do you want to do something here? I could offer you more discount. I could offer you discounts. I could offer you, kind of an incentive, and then kind of go from there. But definitely.
That's us. Because then if you've got a good client, then, somebody's reaching in there, they're probably buying more than just what the one thing you're discounting, right? The cross-selling.
Yeah.
Are you seeing a lot of that, or tweaking the cross-selling matrix for the most part, where, hey, you can come in something like, buy something like this, hey, you're probably interested in this as well, helping you that bottom line?
Yeah, I mean, businesses push that, and when we sit down and we kind of run the strategy by the businesses, we give them things to do, and we tell you, like, look out for cross-sell, look out for this, incentivize influencers, go up to them, talk to, how you can improve that, the lighting or something. But we always incentivize the business to do it. But in the end of the day, that's one of the pitfalls of influencer marketing. That's not something you can track. You can't track if they use a discount code, they purchased that one item. But if they purchase something else next to it, it becomes a bit harder. So that's definitely something you can't track as well with some other digital media, digital marketing channels.
I mean, there's things that when I was in the restaurant industry years ago, we'd have discount codes come in, and we would often be able to track, when we use that discount code, what was the average dollar per check at that point? And we see that happen here with companies like Applebee's, TGI Fridays. Come in, get two entrees and appetizer, $20.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Now, the ex-waiter is like, oh, that's not a very good tip if it's only $20 for two people. It's a $3 or $2 tip. I'm saying that way, but for the restaurant, that's, they're selling stuff off, they're making a profit because they really need just butts in the seats, and then cross-selling with alcohol or desserts and things like that too there for you. So so the question here in the United States over the last couple of years, and they kind of see us going in the next couple of years, we kind of have 5 big markets that they're chasing. We have, obviously, pet lovers is a big thing here, right? The overweight, the obese overweight group, the very fit group.
Yeah.
All right. Spanish speaking group, and the elderly, therefore. Now, do you guys see similar trends? I mean, probably not the Spanish speaking, obviously. All right.
You never know.
You never know. Are you seeing some of those similar trends out where you're at, and in the companies you've worked with in the past, or companies you're working with in your current digital marketing firm?
So the question you're talking about, these trends, are you talking about these are the kind of groups that are most targeted by influencer marketing?
They see these as the emerging markets to target, basically.
Okay. Emerging markets. Yeah, definitely. So it's a bit more different in that sense. So looking at the trends kind of we worked with, for us, instead of Spanish speaking, for us, it's the Asian market, right? The Chinese speaking. There's a big influx of people coming into New Zealand for touristic purposes. Hence, and that crosses over to tourism. Tourism is a very big emerging market. It's already a massive market in New Zealand, but it's growing year after year exponentially. So that's always a market that's been utilized and can really utilize influencer marketing as well, right? So that's an amazing emerging market that you really use that. On top of that, we had education. International education was really big. International students that are coming to high schools, universities, institutes can really utilize the power of, and again, like, let's stop thinking of influencer marketing as just, you pay someone, they promote your product, but like, think of it as the general people who have influence over your business, right? So a lot of these schools, a lot of these universities, they also did affiliate marketing. They had testimonials from customers, from existing international students that they promote. And actually, I was in one for university because I was an international student there, and they're like, "Hey, let's do a video with you." I'm like, "All right, cool." So they did a video for them, and that was really well received. They got a bunch of people from Turkey coming and want to study there. But yeah, and it works, right? So that's why a lot of these you'd really just utilize the power of your customers, of your cheerleaders, as you said as well. And it's what people are telling people. It's not what the brands are telling people. Like, I think if anyone should take away anything from this, if you're a business owner, just keep this in mind. It's no longer enough to stand in front of the TV and be like, "Hey, look at me, buy my product." It's people telling each other, "Hey, you know what? Like, that's a really cool product. You should buy it." Because people will then buy it rather than just kind of watching TV and look at you dance around.
Yep.
That's a very good point. Although dancing, we could be the dancing chicken.
We could dance. Question from from one of the viewers. Sarah asks, what do you think the state of influencer marketing will be in 10 years? Has it changed at all since you've been in the game from the time you started until the time you left?
Definitely. I think it's, if we look at a kind of curve of, any new industry growing, you have that really big adoption cycle and it kind of plateaus and it dips again. I think we're just coming up to the plateau. So because influencer, especially in the US, right? New Zealand caught up pretty late as well. When we did this in 2015, we became the largest in New Zealand within like half a year because no one else was doing it. And this was only 3 years ago. US is a bit more ahead in that sense where influencer marketing is more widely adopted. But globally, I think influencer marketing is more on the kind of, Skype call. Influencer marketing is kind of on the growth right now. So it's not a new market anymore. So you definitely should know about it and try to incorporate it into your marketing strategy. But it also hasn't plateaued at all. It's going to keep growing, I believe. And with new things such as, Instagram just introducing, Instagram TV, you'll have all these new kind of platforms coming in that, when we started at being a Twitch influencer wasn't something you could think about, but now games are utilizing Twitch influencers to push their product out, right? So we're going to have new platforms popping up within the next 10 years. New platforms will be popping up, and it's very important to kind of be on that trend, see what's happening, so then you can utilize the influencers on those platforms, right? Always be on the lookout. And within the 10 years, I think it's just going to keep going.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think so too. I think because you can't beat word of mouth. And that's what they're doing. Like in networking, or when you ask your friends, like, what do you like? They give you their opinion. Like you trust their opinion. So when you have somebody that you follow their stuff every single day, and then they're making it seem so seamless or like you said, like, I'm having a cup of coffee. I really needed that. But that cafe is indirectly getting all of that exposure. Exactly. So I think it's genius to start leveraging it this way. I just think there's a lot of questions for business owners on how to get started. So you mentioned that there were platforms where you mentioned ways that business owners could do it for themselves, but what platforms have you played around with, or what would you recommend if they wanted to have an agency go and do it?
Generally, if you're working with an agency, you would need a bigger budget, because the main difference between going through an agency, doing it yourself, and not being biased at all is, because I don't have my agency anymore, so I can speak freely. I think the agencies will just compile all those results together and give you reports and make everything much easier. So if you're a business owner that's kind of is wearing multiple hats and is here and there and here and there, this might be something you don't have time for, because it's not like a Facebook ad that you just, check your demographics, you set everything up and it runs. This is something that involves a lot of communication with, the people that you're working with, because this is not a Facebook ad. If you set your Facebook ad to say something, it will say that. But you can't control what the influencer is going to say. You can't control how the influencer is going to take that picture. Right? You can't upload a picture on their behalf. So there's a lot of work that goes into it that is not kind of direct work, not something that you would expect. It's just so much human interaction that you have to do. So I think the main difference with an agency, they do all of that for you. You just pay them a fee. They will be in touch with you and they will kind of tell you, look, this is what we're doing. This is what's happening. Cool. But they will be compiling all that information for you, giving it to you at the end of the month, saying what your results have been and kind of doing all the communication for you. But otherwise, you can do anything that an agency does. It's just the same thing.
Just save you some money. Save you money or save you time. It all
yeah, exactly.
One of those
time
two
or
things,
money.
exactly.
You can't get away from it. Elijah, did you have any questions? Does there already have anything else?
No, I mean, there's no other questions. I mean, I thought that was really great info. I mean, we talked a little bit about some influencer marketing stuff earlier, and it just kind of reinforces, just that, So I think that's really great.
So I do have a question. In New Zealand, here in the United States, we have our sports stars are so big, with being promoters and advocates and influencers, stuff like that. Is it the same way in New Zealand, like with the All Blacks?
Definitely.
Okay.
Sports is massive in New Zealand. You got the rugby, you got the All Blacks, best in the world. But you still have people, like Steven Adams, playing in the NBA. You have Lydia Ko, a very young golfer. And yeah, sports, massive. So sports influences. And if you're a New Zealander, you have to know Richie McCaw, right? He's like the legend rugby player that has kind of like been around. Kind of like if you're in the US, you like basketball, you know who Michael Jordan is, right? Like kind of the same thing. But here it's nationally. Even if you don't like rugby, you know who he is. So it's very big, and bigger companies definitely utilize those influences as well, who can afford them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right.
Now I want to go to New Zealand.
You want to go to New Zealand now? New Zealand's great.
We'll come hang out with you.
Yeah, definitely. Come in Christmas though, because then you can kind of like go to the beach on New Year's in your shorts, and there's like Santa Clauses everywhere with shorts and like singlets going around. Really funny.
Yes, let's go do that.
Santa Claus, Santa shorts, basically.
Santa shorts on the beach. It's our summer right now in Texas, so I think tomorrow or today is supposed to be the hottest day on record. So I think we're supposed to be up in the hundreds.
Yeah, we've got the heat wave rolling in right now.
Yeah.
Good stuff. What are your plans? I always like to know, because you've had some major changes take place too. So what's the future hold for Omer in the next couple of years?
Yeah, so right now I'm enjoying kind of a bit of structure to my life, right? So the whole, when you run your own business, it can get really hectic. So now I'm enjoying just working in a marketing agency here, kind of being the customer manager, making sure clients are happy, relaying information, but also involved with First Cut Ventures. So it's a venture capital firm that's actually one of the largest in the world that is solely run by people under 30, and we invest in founders under 30. So it's actually the largest in the world, largest venture capital in the world that is only run by people under 30 and invests in young founders. So I'm also one of the partners there, and I love doing that work. So that's kind of really rewarding, being able to be in the same startup space. So, but going forward from here, once I'm good with stability and I want to get crazy again, I definitely want to do something in the international student consultancy space. It's a very big market in New Zealand, but also globally. It's growing. And I think there's just so many wild cowboys going around not giving the right information. And having been in that space since I was 13, like studied by myself in high school, uni, this and that, since I was 13, like I can see many cracks. So I'd love to fix that. So that's kind of in the pipeline for the future.
Is there anybody that you listen to on a regular basis? Like we've got Gary Vaynerchuk over here, Grant Cardone, to name it two. Anybody that you listen to that really kind of gets you rock and rolling in the morning, in the afternoon?
Oh, that's something I'm trying to get into. I've been very slack with podcasts. I haven't been listening to anyone, but some of the people that I look up to, Elon Musk. I love reading biographies. So I've read Elon Musk, Steve Jobs, the classics. Right now, reading Richard Branson's one, but yeah, I love it. Just because my background is really weird as well, because I studied engineering and I was like, you know what, like I actually stuff this. I'm gonna run a digital marketing. I'm gonna do be in the marketing space. So kind of being all over the show. So I really love kind of founders and entrepreneurs who've done the same route, have gone through the same route.
Cool. Now, as an engineer, you don't overthink things like a lot of engineers do, huh?
I think I still do. I can't shake that out.
Well, engineer turned marketer.
That's a rarity.
I get that brain though, because I'm going through my processes, but it's like I'm switching between process and creativity. Like, right brain.
Yeah, definitely. And I think like the marketers are just kind of two different points where you have like your analytical marketers and your creative marketers. I'm definitely fond of analytical marketers. Like I can use Photoshop, but don't let me use Photoshop.
Yeah. I have a guy for that. He's right. He's the guy making sure we have all the stuff online. Well, I do appreciate you coming on and talking with us. That was a wealth of knowledge. We will definitely, I can guarantee you, this is going to be one where we're going to have a lot of people request to come and watch it later. So if you have any additional information or anything that you want to share, like pop them in the comments or email it on over to me and we'll get it out to our audience. But we've really appreciated your time and might take you up on that, New Zealand industry. I'm serious.
Please do. Let me know.
You already went on vacation for 3 weeks. I think it's my turn.
There we go.
3 weeks in Hawaii for a week before that too. So yeah. I'm
Yeah,
home.
brag about it.
Exactly.
All right.
Yeah, and again, like I said to all the audience as well, like if you guys have any questions as well, feel free to reach out to me from my like LinkedIn, and I'm trying to run a blog right now as well that I'm trying to write weekly on like startups and all this. So yeah, definitely, if anyone wants to learn a bit more about the whole marketing space, influencer marketing, feel free to reach out to me, or they
What's
can
your
flick you an
blog?
email. It's on Medium. It's just at Omer Hazer, so first name, last name, pretty straightforward. Yeah.
We'll put that up so that everybody can go and read it.
Sounds good.
Awesome. Well, you have a great rest of your evening, and we will talk to you soon.
All right, sounds good. Enjoy the morning. The
Yeah,
night.
it's so
24
early.
hours.
Yeah. Less
All
than
right.
24 hours now. All right. The final. No.
Good luck. I believe in you guys.
Thanks so much. Appreciate
Thank
that.
you.
All right. See ya. Bye bye.
Nice.
That was good.
That was so good.
That was really good. I'm gonna change the camera over here. Oh, hang on. It helps if I start it. Hang on here. There we go. So that was good. What was your guys' big points from him?
Oh, I have so much. Like my mind's a little bit swimming right now, but
Yeah.
just the starting point where he described what to do with like how many influencers, how many times a week they should post, and like what on average you think you should budget for it. Like that right there is my gold nugget.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I agree, because like what she was asking, the ROI on that, like that's always the biggest thing, is like how well, this guy says he has 1.2 million followers, but it's the same price as this person that has 75,000 followers. So like, are they in different industry? Are they in this, they in that? So being able to actually understand, like, hey, everyone always talks about engagement, right? It doesn't matter what you post, it matters how people interact, if they comment, they like. So being able to actually know what you're looking for, I mean, I think that was huge, because it really does show you that it doesn't really necessarily matter how big your numbers are. It really just means like how powerful maybe the numbers you do have actually are, and the activity that they have.
That is so good. The whole idea of quality over quantity.
Yeah.
Definitely, because we all know friends who's got, I got 100,000 Instagram followers. Well, how many of those are some 17-year-old kid who's in India who's not going to do anything with your business, versus your ideal avatar of a client who's
Right.
in the neighborhood you're at, versus being across the world that's not going to have any interest in what you're doing. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And I think, also too, like, having the perception of, especially with an influencer, that instead of just going after somebody that does have a lot of large numbers, going at, being able to say, hey, you know what, I might be missing out on an opportunity that actually might yield me more. And on top of that, if you're going to be putting together a budget for it, and it's going to be something new that you're getting into, why not start at that level before you try to jump up to something where you are paying $1,000, $700, or whatever it is? Because then you might even be getting in a situation over your head when you could have just like walked yourself into it.
Sure,
right?
almost like honing in the micro versus you go to the macro
Right,
side.
exactly. I just thought that was so powerful. I mean, we're doing some of the, I would say, influencer stuff that we're doing. It's different from this, but I mean, it's you're cross promoting with other brands, like what we were talking about earlier. I honestly think that as you see business as it gets more competitive on the advertising landscape with bigger brands and smaller businesses, you're going to see those smaller businesses doing more cross promotion and influencer marketing between each other and within their community, because you can't compete with the guys that are throwing out just hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars all the time, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, you're not
cool.
gonna mess with a Nike or a Reebok or
I'm gonna
Fubu.
yeah, right. Like, you're not gonna break into the tennis shoe market and just take Nike head on, right? That's the long game.
Well, yeah, I'm gonna withdraw the Fubu comment, because Damon Johns basically was broke for 8 years before he had one influencer.
Yeah.
Basically wear his stuff that led to where they're at there, because they all can come down to one person for the most part.
I mean, you just talked. So they mentioned the celebrity side of things. Bose, right? We're talking $1 billion deal, and that was all just, hey, put these headphones on, take a photo of you. Like, basically, people weren't even listening to the headphones. They were walking in a room. They're like, hey, throw these headphones on. Let me take a photo of you. I mean, you can watch everything that Dr. Dre was talking about, and it's phenomenal. I mean, the marketing plan behind that, how they started really, really capturing that. If you can do that on that micro level in your community because you're not selling globally or anything like that, I mean, it could really be the game changer for your business.
But it's also very frustrating because we know a client of you guys, very frustrating when they want to take photos of their product that is being bought every day, right?
Yep.
It's frustrating when they want to take a picture of their product or their clients or stuff like that. And I think it's where, I'm a big proponent of reaching out to people that your biggest cheerleaders.
Yep.
Because they'll do it a lot of times without a cost.
Yep.
Because it's just a lot of great product awareness. They love it. They're going to talk about it. Shaquille O'Neal, we all know who Shaq is, right?
Yep, absolutely.
I watched this documentary on Real Sports on HBO, talking about at the end of the year, he has a Shaq Expo.
Shaq Expo?
Basically, it's like a Shaq Expo.
Okay.
So he brings in every company that he markets.
Okay.
So it's him in front with his assistants, and then he's got like 8, 9, 12 tables of the companies that he markets for.
Right.
And he's there to talk to them about their game plan for the year, what he can do to help them versus the other way around.
Wow.
It's a totally different kind of mindset of true influencer marketing, but literally the influencer, which in his words, he says he doesn't promote something unless he loves it, doesn't promote something unless he uses it.
Right.
So it's a little bit. So we talk about, the new the doorbell thing called Ring.
Yeah.
He saw it, all right, loved it so much, called them up, said, hey, I'll start marketing because I love this product for what I do. Plus, I want to invest with you. And they just got bought up by Amazon for $1 billion, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Exactly. And the crazy commercials of him and the owner sitting there in T-shirts, talking about their product. But that's the thing. I think we're all looking for influencers of what we're doing, who love us.
Right.
Okay, you had an influencer here today dropping off wine for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cheerleader, one of our biggest
cheerleaders. Yes.
Cheerleader.
Here to drop off the wine for you and stuff like that. And we get a lot of people that give us testimonials for what we do with the note business, the real estate business. So finding ways that you can reward your biggest influencers. So like we've been doing that with our membership.
What's your man kit?
Our man kit?
Yeah, the kit that you got in the crate.
Oh yeah, the man crate
The man
with
crate.
the
There
pint
it is.
glasses
Yeah.
and customized stuff. But we've been doing this for our members too. We send out stuff on a regular basis, monthly basis. Like we send out a hat, sunglasses, a book, something valuable.
Well, so that makes a good point of, when people feel appreciated, they continue like to support, right? It's not just a good product. It's not just, hey, I had a great service. It's that, hey, they're continually showing loyalty to your business. Like, how do you, well, I'm loyal because I continue to offer a great product and a great service.
Not so much.
Yeah, not so much. Like now you're getting into this relationship where it is really important for your business to go ahead and invest maybe into those little extras. Maybe it's we're only a private party for, our cheerleaders, our people that we think really, make an impact in our business, being able to showcase that. I mean, stuff like that can be that micro influencer because again, you're getting people excited. Hey, I went in there and I've been telling him I really like this hat. So he custom ordered that one hat just for me. And now he goes around telling everybody about this hat and how cool it is. And luckily the whole shop sells hats. So everyone that's talking to him, that's commenting on his hat, hey, I like that hat. Now you got this that cheerleader. And what did it take? Took a custom hat, getting something, basically just special ordering it. That probably cost them almost nothing because they already buy it wholesale or whatever the case.
Bulk sales.
Exactly. I mean, it's stuff like that that's so easy to do, and it would just make such an impact on your business. And who knows? I mean, that kind of stuff is where you actually see those people like, check this out. They're taking a photo in their own personal social media. They're tagging your business. And if you do it right and you know your social media handles, and I say that because you'll be surprised on how many businesses that don't.
What's the social media handle? Just throw it out there. What's the social media handle?
It's basically how people find you. It's what if somebody's on Facebook or Instagram, it's what they type in to get your page specifically. There's name. I mean, yeah, it's your name, it's your brand. There's so many different. For instance, you can type in Nike right now and find how many people actually, because you have people that are actually named Nike. You know, they have other brands that are Nike fans. They like Nike soccer. You know, you have all these different channels that you got to sort through. So knowing those handles allows people to actually get you tagged. And if you're going to be giving giving stuff out like that, ask them, can you tag me? Use these hashtags. You know, it's really easy
So
to
like
do.
for today, it's hashtag
SM
SMDay, hashtag NSMD, which is what our next geners have been abbreviating our event to. So we're using it. We're rolling with it.
There you go. Exactly. Now, one of the great things I've seen is it's kind of twofold.
Okay.
I think if you're a company owner, you've got to empower your staff to be able to offer up those things like that too on a whim.
Ooh,
which I
that's
don't think
point.
a lot of employers or company, managers or business owners do, because they're so worried about the bottom line. That if they did that, they empowered. I'll give you an example. Going to lunch the other day, I go to this place called Mad Greens right across the street over here. Okay, I go in probably 3 times a week. Okay, I go in all the time, sometimes late at night because I'm getting off. I'm like, hey, I want a salad or something like that. Literally, the manager just literally cut my order in half. She's like, you're in here all the time, boom, 50% discount. I'm gonna give you my discount.
Right.
I'm like, hey, great. First thing I did, tweet, post, and then they have it right by their door. You walk in, hey, if you love it, text us or share us, hashtag MadGreens.
Right.
It's little things like that. Oh, she doesn't own the place, but she's the manager, and she had the permission to do that. I was like, it's salad. It doesn't cost a lot.
Right.
Right. It didn't really cost them anything. But find that one thing that doesn't cost a lot that you can discount that adds value to my day.
Right.
I mean, I'd pay full price anyway, but I was just taking that. Well, great, awesome, I'll take that.
Yeah. No, I mean, and that's just so simple. It's so simple to empower like those individuals to say like, hey, like this is acceptable. This isn't acceptable, but that is. I mean, you said, I think that also falls into just the type of culture that you can build, not only within your business, but if it's the type of social media that you're really trying to put out there, I mean, your employees are going to be able to see that, and that's what they're going to take into the job and into their day-to-day, responsibilities in whatever store that's
right. One of the things we've been to San Diego. We've all been to San Diego.
Actually, I haven't.
What?
She's left me every time.
Oh gosh. Okay, we got to take you to Sandy. All right, we got to go to see San Diego. So I like to go stay at when Aaron Young has an event or Greg Reach had an event. We've often had the Dana on Mission Bay. Yeah, we met the Marriott. Not anyway. You know what I'm saying? You weren't there, but she was with another man. Anyway, the Dana Mission Bay, great hotel right on Mission Bay. They got a great social media. They're always kind of posting things. They knew that I don't know if they knew I'd stayed there before.
Right. So
I left and I came back. And when I went into my room, they had dropped a fruit tray off. Pear, apple, bananas, grapes, strawberries, blueberries, a fruit tray wrapped in cellophane. Say, hey, thanks for staying with us again. And then you know what they did? Without even asking for it, they had a social media card there with the 4 handles that they want. Hey, share this to Instagram, tag us here. Facebook, leave us a Yelp review if you wouldn't mind.
They went the extra mile to make you feel comfortable, but also give you the assets you needed to share it. And
a handwritten note.
Ooh, I love
that's
that.
important.
A handwritten note. Thank you on behalf of our staff for staying here. Now they may have just gone ahead and written 100 of those out versus printing them, but hey, it's still great. It's still handwritten out.
After 100 of them, as long as somebody's hand hurt from handwriting all of those,
all matters.
I'm totally
it matters.
But they turned just a regular client into an influence marketer who went and shared it on social media. And those are little things that we all can do in our own business. We started doing that. We started now creating a little social media influencer thing. We put in everything we skip out. Hey, thank you. Appreciate it. Would you mind sharing? If you don't want to share no biggie, but if you want to share, great.
Right.
And it adds to a lot of other things out there. So those are little things that everybody can do, right?
Yeah. I think that I one big problem that I've always heard from people is, well, I don't like to brag. I don't want to boast about myself. I don't like to talk about myself, and that's the reason why. And they say that I don't like to talk about myself. And
is this Christy talking all the time?
No. No.
She does not like to brag on herself, and neither do you.
This is true.
I want to remind myself to be humble, but also at the same time, I have realized that we do need to. There are accomplishments. It's not bragging to tell somebody about what you have
You're good at
done.
Hashtag humble brag.
Humble brag. Oh, that's what it is now. Oh, every time it's gonna be hashtag humble brag.
We gotta put that down there in the comments to get around to it.
It's like
Yeah,
that
right.
the new thing of saying, what was it? Hashtag blessed is like the new like it
Yeah,
hashtag.
versus
to
hashtag
use.
me too.
That's
Oh, that just went big. So speaking of influencers, actually, we are waiting on Dana Garrison. She is in Thailand right now.
Mhm.
She's going to talk to us about live video and how to grow and monetize your channel. And so a little bit about Dana is that she basically grew her show on live video, monetized, and got a sponsor within 2 weeks. So right after that, she started getting free products, landing brand deals, and getting flown to like amazing places, which is why she's in Thailand right now. I was just like, take me with you.
Okay, take it back a bit. Let's repeat that a little bit slower. She
Yeah.
started a show.
Started her live video show,
Okay.
monetized it, and got a sponsor within 2 weeks.
Okay. Major sponsor or sub-sponsor, do you know?
I don't know. I
Okay.
think that's what she's
We'll
going to
have to
fill
ask
us
her.
in on in a little bit.
Mhm.
But she has been featured in places like Huffington Post, Adweek, and Inc. magazine. And she's worked with brands like Microsoft, Intel, and Oculus. She's a business consultant who works with individuals and brands and breakthrough social and live video strategies. So, we've talked about creating video ads. We talked about using influencers. She's a little bit of that influencer turned marketer turned strategist, and she's taking her living proof of what she's been doing and actually putting it into use for other people. So we sent her over the link. We're just waiting on her to connect. I can imagine that finding some good internet connections sometimes.
Right. We know where she's originally from. She's in Thailand right now traveling.
San Francisco.
She's from San Francisco.
Yes, and I actually met her in San Diego because it's the place you meet everybody.
Right.
Apparently.
So San Diego, and then I think we spoke on stage with her at in Houston.
I did. Me and her spoke on stage in Houston. We did kind of a little TED Talk style deal. We ended up taking some pictures together, and then we're at Traffic and Conversion, and I'm going to the bathroom, and I run into a girl, and we're like, I know you. Like, we figured out we know each other, and then another girl comes in and bumps into us and realize that's another speaker from the same event, and we're all like, it's the bathroom, guys. Like, that's just where you meet all the people you know.
I get that didn't have any guys' restrooms most of the time.
No,
Most of the time we don't even look at each
you don't
other.
look at each
No.
other. You
Yeah.
guys
Well, all the
can.
time we notice that somebody didn't wash their hands on their way out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Don't
The
shake
girls'
that guy's
bathroom,
hand.
we're having lifelong stories. And
Oh my
we're
God, let me
talking
fix
to
your
each
makeup.
other.
Yeah, bro, your tag is showing.
Yeah.
Hey, we appreciate those things. We want to know if there's lipstick in our teeth, if our shirt's on inside out.
And most men appreciate not having eye contact in the restroom.
Especially at the stalls.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not quite 3 o'clock in the morning, but the trains going up the tracks.
It's been a lot worse between you two guys. So I'm in the middle now. I've been in the middle of this.
So let's do a quick little before she gets here. So let's talk about reaching, basically what Omer said, basically reaching out to your fans, your cheerleaders, your great clients, or finding 4 people that kind of fit what you're looking for.
Right.
That have a medium following, don't have to have a huge following. $500 a month is roughly what he said is a kind of a starting point.
3 to 5.
3 to 5.
That's
That's
where
on the
to
high
start
end there.
Yeah.
So it's about 125 a week.
Mm-hmm.
Just
Yeah.
about.
And which, so he made a point about budget, right? And I think that's also really important. And I wish we had somebody that was going to come on here and actually talk about financing and budgeting out, marketing on that. Which do we? I didn't see anybody who was going to talk about the finance side, because there is a certain percentage of your budget that you should be pulling out for marketing. And then once you get that, knowing the different channels, the different avenues, if you're paying for ads, if you're paying for content, that will also give you a good idea of how you should chop that budget up so you actually know what you can afford. And it gives you the ability to create that strategy, that game plan of, okay, we'll do it this month and we'll see how that goes. And then we'll adjust it in real time, and then we'll add a little more, and we'll remove money around. You might find that influencer marketing is your best bet. You might find, running ads this way is your best bet, but it all depends on your product, how much money you actually make off those products and services.
Well, I also think it's important to look at what your competition's doing.
Oh,
I mean, checking out their website, and if they're doing something well, I'm a big proponent. If I see something that draws my attention, what can I do to replicate that as easy as possible? And most of the time, it's really, really easy. And what's funny is when you see your competition starting to copy you, you know you're doing something right.
Yeah.
Right.
And actually, and as a brand, when we market a brand, that's what I strive for. I strive to make sure that that brand is becoming an influencer in the industry. I want other companies just like them coming to them to share their content because it's good content. It's stuff that they could share that they don't feel as like in a direct competition, but what it's doing is we're cross promoting. I'm now feeding off their audience. I'm getting engagement from their people. I'm getting more views on my stuff. I mean, I think any brand would love to get paid to market their own company. And if you put that type of content out, and you can achieve that influence, achieve an influencer status through influencers in a market. Stuff like that is very easy to do where you start monetizing your YouTube channels, you start finding sponsors, you get free product. Everyone likes free stuff.
Right. And it'll be interesting to hear from Dana here in a minute talking about that stuff. It'll be interesting talking to Stephanie Lahart from LA with Boomtown Marketing. Right. She's going to be focused on Instagram, which I think is where we think a lot of the influencers taking place.
Well, that's what Omar was saying, is that that's the network that has really adopted it and adapted it to where it would be easy for the influencer and the business to coexist. So now they actually have that influencer element inside of Instagram where you can monitor those things.
Yeah, I think because you have to have a photo. You can't just post just random tags like you can on Facebook. Like you have to have a photo. I think that's really set the pace for Instagram being ahead of in the influencer because, I mean, you got to see what you're buying, right? I mean, stories only go so far.
It would be too, but I think Instagram would help themselves allowed more actual website links to be active in there versus the one in your profile all the time.
So you can have active links inside your stories too. So I think that was their way of being able to allow you to do it more. But I kind of like the idea of not having a whole lot of active links because it makes you focus on the photo, the content, and who's involved and who's in it. At the same time, I find it annoying because I'm trying to run a promotion. And everybody's like, I don't know where the link is, and you have to keep updating the bio link. So that is something that's less convenient, but I think that's where they want you to get towards those, use a code, go to one page.
Or use the stories and swipe up.
Yep.
The whole point where that connects you to the websites and the articles to make things happen like that.
So we're still waiting on Dana. I've checked in with her. She has everything. I think we're just waiting on her to hop online. So again, connecting in Thailand. So she's exactly 12 hours ahead of us right now.
So basically it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon there.
Yeah.
Nice. It's nice.
It is nice. In 12 hours, it'll be 3 o'clock in the afternoon for us.
Exactly.
And we're all going to be like this.
Right.
Copy down the threads.
Eventually, coffee will just stop working.
We assure you that somebody will be live on here talking the whole 27 hours. Somebody. It won't just be sleeping people on the other end.
Right. That's the truth. That's the truth. So if you're watching this right now on Facebook, which we got some people on there to join us right now, early morning hours, night owls, what are some questions when it comes to YouTube that you are really worried, we really would love to have answered? How to help, like what questions would you want to have answered by Dana? Somebody who's doing obviously a tremendous job and kicking butt and taking names.
Yeah.
What are some questions? You want to write those down in the Facebook comments so we can keep track of those, so we can ask her when she gets on here in just a couple minutes. That way we get rocking and rolling into the hour. She's supposed to speak for about an hour, right?
Yes, an hour.
Okay. Cool.
Because she has a whole thing that she's going to go over on it, and I think giving her the extra time to really go through the steps is really going to be valuable.
I think that's huge. I'm glad we did that. Yeah.
So let me check on her.
She's probably just got to take a little while, probably download. She hadn't logged in before.
It's always, I think everybody wants to know and how to monetize their YouTube channel. How do I put enough cat videos up here before someone starts paying me for how cute these cats are? Or how many times I go out and do videos of me fishing, where I show all the cool fish and lures I'm, utilizing before some fishing company comes in and starts paying me and gives me a boat and a canoe and everything to go out there, and I can start talking about that, like what does that look like?
Well, it's just not on the YouTube channel. We see that in the podcast channel. That's like the number one question we see in the different podcast groups I see. How do I monetize my brand new podcast? I got 5 episodes. How do I monetize it? It's like, well, you're doing 100 more episodes, and then maybe you might be in the range to do stuff.
Well, and that's the
Content.
thing though. It's like, so here is something, and I think that a lot of people have problems with, especially when it comes to media when they're trying to build something. And I'm guilty of this in myself, is that I got this great idea. I know the type of videos I want to put out there or the podcast I want to do, but I realized about halfway through recording the first episode of whatever it was, this is a lot harder than I thought it was.
No.
And this isn't coming together. So, maybe I got the first one out and I was really super proud of it. Maybe I got the second. Maybe I even got up to 10. But after 10, I'm still not making any money. So, I mean, it probably is not working.
Well, but that's where most people give up anyway.
Oh, right.
Most people will give up doing something. Oh, I'm going to try something new. 5 minutes into it, they'll give up. We see it in the real estate side. Oh, I only made 5 offers. Nobody accepted. I can't do this.
Right.
Or I'm going to call banks for asset managers to try to track down some mortgages. Oh, I made 10. I made a lot of phone calls. Well, I made 10. Okay, that doesn't count.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
We've been monetized. We've got sponsors that pay us monthly. We've got other sponsors that are an affiliate split because we promote them on a regular basis. But the fact is that we did so well because the fact that we always promoted them.
Mm-hmm.
We promoted our biggest vendors, and when the time came, when I asked, they were completely happy to it because they're still getting a deal.
Yeah.
When we're the number one promoter of number one new accounts for Laughlin Associates, they're in Young, Quest IRA, we're the number one, number 2 every year for them.
Mm-hmm.
We're now the largest referred new accounts for Madison Management in what we do.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, those are 3 pretty good sized companies, and in our neck of the woods, our niche of distressed debt, that are big players in there,
Mm-hmm.
and it helps out tremendously.
So you become that influencer for them.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
I'll say a webinar once a night,
Mhm.
boom, it's at least 5 accounts or 10
Right.
accounts. Or we do a virtual event, at least 200 accounts for them.
Yeah.
That's a huge thing to have. And that's what I think people have to realize. To be an influencer, you've got to deliver.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not going to be all, you're not going to have 100 people that
Consistently.
respond immediately.
Mhm.
It may be one person.
Right.
But that one person becomes 2 people.
You have to deliver consistently.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes, versus just trying to hit it out of the park the first time around and give up. Oh, it doesn't work.
Well, that's where having that strategy and that plan comes into play. Instead of just waking up that day and saying, what do I post today? You already have it planned out what you are going to post, and then you can spend the time engaging and having that conversation and supporting what it is that you posted, versus having to think about what you have to post and you have no other time to do anything else.
Mhm. Well, that's what I'll talk about in the morning cup with Social Joe.
Yeah.
In 2 hours.
the
By the time
fourth
I'm
cup
done-
of Social Joe.
So you're gonna be so tired of that,
You're
Joe.
like, ah.
Exactly.
Actually, we got these really cool cups. I don't know if you see them. Mine has very nice lips and a little number here.
Mustache
Yeah,
Scott's is the mustache.
with the appropriate Hawaiian lay around it.
Oh, Hawaiian lei right here. So this is the Hampton Inn's little coffee cups, and just these little things right here are kind of clever and fun
Mhm.
when you think about it. Like this one has teeth.
And you know what's funny is I have been to this hotel. I don't know how many times having events, and you're the first time I've noticed this.
I like things that are fun.
You picked it up before I did. Exactly.
That's funny.
So I got a message back from Dana. She's trying to get on now, so she should be with us shortly. Yeah.
I'm definitely ADD at a
Dana's on.
Cool. Hang on one second.